tell everybody about your damn business, and then nothing happens. No clients, no calls, no emails, just pure silence. Like everybody's shutting the hell up, even your family members, right? They just quiet. But here's the truth about entrepreneurship that most people never really hear about. The hardest client you will ever get will be that first client, because not gonna lie, social media made entrepreneurship look super fucking easy. Who the fuck cares about what you believe? Just because you believe your shit is good don't mean the shit is actually good. Especially when you start an entrepreneurship and you look at some of your past work and you be like, God damn, what the fuck was I thinking? I can't believe that client stayed with me. Most people actually quit. And for me, quitting is not an option for me. If I started something, I'm going to see this shit through. I'm going to figure out how to do it, because that's just who I've been my entire life. I don't know how to just let shit go. I do not know how to let shit go. Welcome to the other side of motivation. Hey, and welcome back to the Untraditional Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Jermaine Delmas, where we talk about real business behind building something from nothing. If you enjoy conversations about entrepreneurship, building brands, and real journey behind starting a business, make sure you subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss future episodes. Now, today, I want to talk about something that every entrepreneur experiences, but almost nobody really talks about, That is getting your first fucking client. Because when people talk about entrepreneurship nowadays, a lot of shit that they talk about is like scaling. They talk about 6-figure business. They talk about building teams, building wealth. They also talk about like automations and passive income, but nobody really be talking about all that shit before those things happen. The part where you actually start the business, You launch the website, you post on social media, you tell everybody about your damn business, and then nothing happens. No clients, no calls, no emails, just pure silence. Like everybody's shutting the hell up, even your family members, They just quiet. The moment you ask them to be a client, they quiet as hell. Like friends, family, they quiet as hell. They don't hear nothing. You know what I mean? And then you start asking yourself questions like, damn, did I make a mistake? Maybe I'm in the wrong business. Maybe I need to take my ass back to work. But here's the truth about entrepreneurship that most people never really hear about. The hardest client you will ever get will be that first client, because when you start, you have no proof, You have no testimonials. You have no reputation. You have no case studies. You have no damn track record. You're basically asking someone to trust you with their money based on your damn beliefs, And to be fair, that's kind of hard to sell, But once the first client says yes, then everything changes, Because now you have something powerful. You have proof, And today I want to break down what that stage actually looks like, the struggle, the hustle, and the mindset it takes to push through that phase and finally land that first client, because definitely get another one, and then eventually you will build that business. I'm your host, Jermaine Delmas. Welcome to the other side of motivation. Let's dive in. Today I'm feeling a little better than I was on that previous episode about betrayal. Things are slightly turning up. Again, I told you guys before, I'm the chosen one. Thing is, I'm hoping by this next episode, by our next episode coming up, we might do a change of scenery in here. We won't have the same scenery. So we're kind of touching some things up with the podcast. But anywho, we talking about getting that first client for entrepreneurs. I'm certain that there's entrepreneurs that's listening to this shit and like, damn, I remember that shit when I had to get my first client. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to first start off with a myth buster, So basically, I want to start off with social media, Not gonna lie, social media made entrepreneurship look super fucking easy. People think you start a business and customers just start showing their asses up. But the truth is, the hardest client to get is that first one, right? I'm not gonna lie, I fell victim to that too when I saw businesses and entrepreneurs on social media. They made that shit look easy. And I talked about this in a previous episode, when in reality, these motherfuckers got team members behind them. These niggas ain't doing this shit by themselves. Why? It's because at the end of the day, it's fucking impossible. You can't. That's the first thing. But we ain't here to talk about teams. We're here to talk about that first client, right? And why that first client is so hard. The first client is so hard is because you have no proof of your concept. You might have a degree, you might have some history, but like, what's like the real proof, right? You know, like of you running a business. You might be good at something, but that don't mean you're good at running a business and helping another business grow. You know, you have no testimonials typically. You have no reputation. You have no systems. So, your first client is going to be really building off your damn belief, right? And like, who the fuck cares about what you believe? Just because you believe your shit is good don't mean the shit is actually good. Because all the times that shit ain't really as good as we think it's. Because like, especially when you start an entrepreneurship and you look at some of your past work and you be like, God damn, shit, what the fuck was I thinking? I can't believe that client stayed with me. Sometimes you look at your past stuff and just be like, damn, I'm grateful that they gave us a shot and continued on. It really takes a really special individual, right, to take you on as an individual with no team, no nothing. It takes a desperate motherfucker. I ain't gonna even lie, but you just need something to start with, right? So let's talk about what I like to call like the silent phase, right? This shit crazy. This is where you launch the business, right? You so excited, you got your little website, you done invested money in this shit, you done put bread in this, you launch your website, you start posting on social media, you start telling your folks, you start telling your friends, hey, I got this business, y'all should check me out, come holler at your boy. You might get a few here, little people coming to support a little here and there, but then for the most part, really nothing, right? Shit just get quiet. You got this motherfucking business and ain't shit happening. Common thoughts during this stage is things like, shit, did I make a mistake, right? That's like one of the first things, like, damn, what the hell did I get into? Do anybody really even want this shit? Maybe sometimes we even think, I don't think I'm good enough. And I think most times people don't even really pay attention to their competitors. That's when most people fuck up. Like, you still got to understand that there's people who is doing the business or similar to your business who's been doing this shit for years, 10 plus years. How you gonna come in and compete with that, right? So it's you. The reality, though, is every business goes through this silent phase. Most people actually quit. And, for me, quitting is not an option for me. Like, letting go of something is not. If I started something, I'm going to see this shit through. I'm going to figure out how to do it because that's just who I've been my entire life. I don't know how to just let shit go. Don't argue with me either, because I will argue your ass down. I do not know how to let shit go sometimes. Like, like that's the same thing with business. I'm like, listen, even if this shit was kicking my ass, I do not know how to just like give up on it. I don't know how to just stop. I think, some people just built like that, but then some people like, fuck this. I ain't about to give it. No, hell nah. Doors is closed because they realize that it's not as easy as it looks. Right. And then, then there's like the hustle that nobody really sees. Right. I'm talking about like when you get that first client. Usually comes with some uncomfortable ass effort. Like you doing all the work yourself. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some people come in, they might got some bread. They might have family who spotted them some money and gave them some money to get their business started, or somebody saved up. That's slightly a little different because if you got bread, you can maneuver some shit around and make it happen. But I'm talking about motherfuckers who ain't got no bread. You got a business, you ain't got nothing, and you coming in this thing raw. Because a lot of people come in there doing that, You start off by sending like cold emails, reaching out to people about your services. You start going to networking events, trying to network. Look, I already talked about networking events. I'm not a fan of networking events because y'all a bunch of broke people in one room trying to make money off of other broke people. Like, right? Like, people really, if you gonna start this shit, go to a conference, right? I feel like networking events is a fucking joke. And I think it's a good practice of talking to business owners and getting to know what people do. But I don't necessarily go to a networking event expecting clients. That's just me. I don't expect. And even if I get something from there, I don't think that there will be a, like a lasting client. I think they'll be out of there probably in a month or two, right? Other things they do is like, they ask friends to support their business. Hey, come by my so and so, help me out with this, help me out with this, offering free discounted work and shit. That I did that when I first started. Shit. Well, I was giving out free work like a motherfucker. I kid you not. I did 26 videos for a business for free. Don't get me wrong. They gave me an office space and there's like a deal. But man, that was the last free thing I ever gave any business, because I was always doing free shit to build relationships, to build that connection so that people are getting familiar with who I am and things like that. Man, I was doing so much free shit. Man, listen, I'm gonna tell you something, and this is just from my personal experience. Sometimes, you gotta have a cap on this free shit, right? Like maybe you do free shit maybe for a month, whatever. That's it. I'm sorry. I'm the type of business owner that if somebody's starting a business and they like, hey, I want to come and do this shit for you for free. If you're doing something for me for free and I'm testing it out, it just can't affect me as a business at all. You know what I'm saying? I don't really like getting free shit, because getting free shit also comes with expectation. Like, I know that you're doing this for me for free because you want my business, but there's a good chance. How the hell do I tell you that your shit was garbage without telling you your shit was garbage, or I just didn't like the service? This is what I do. Somebody give me something and they say, here you go, blah, 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 blah. This is the way I tell you your shit was garbage. Thank you. I appreciate the hard work. If we need anything, we'll keep you in touch, whatever the case is. And you might never see that shit on my page. You might never see that shit on my socials. You won't see the shit. Hell no, man. I'm sorry. If the shit's garbage, the shit's garbage. Like, you should have been practicing more. And like, a lot of people open up businesses and really don't have the skill set to do what they do, because it's not just the craft that matters. Like, if you're running a business, what it means is your business have to be a convenience to me and doesn't add inconvenience to my life. And that's going to take systems and structure. So yeah, you might be good at photography, whatever the case is, but are you a good business owner? Like, are you a good person to do business with? Right? Because there's a difference between being good at what you do and also being good at business. Like, not only are they good, but I like fuck with them, because like when I'm talking to them, I'm gonna tell you, man, like what sells to anybody is knowledge. If you can say some shit that a motherfucker didn't know, like, oh shit, or you say something and strategize something that nobody thought of, like, oh shit, I like that. People like being intrigued. Like, they like being educated. They like not knowing something and then finding out something new, and you being the person that do that. I feel like that's going to outbeat free shit anyways. But at the end of the day, your work still have to show for that. I don't know if I'll give somebody a chance. I'm going to just be 100. Like, I'm one of them people, like, I got shit going on. I need to, unless it's some desperate shit I ain't never had before and it's like something I'll give a try out on, I'm not necessarily open to that shit, to having somebody work for me for free, because now there's this expectation. Especially, how do I not tell you? Now you put me in a situation where if I don't like the shit, how do I not now tell you I don't like the shit and I don't want to work with you? So like, there's that kind of shit. You know what I mean? So anyways, like, I want to talk about like why the first client is so hard a little bit, right? And for me, people are probably like, what do you do though? You get this business, you got this business, you start this shit. How do you get your first client? Like, I still got to eat. I still got to survive. I still got to drive. I still got to wash. I still got to get, things to survive. Like, if I'm opening up a business and I have no clients or no customers, like, what does that mean? Like, how do I eat? Well, I'm going to be 100 with you. Unless you have a stack of money saved up for you for like a year or a year and a half, you're going to need to work, motherfucker. Nothing around you. Like, you either got to work a regular job until your business gets to where it needs to get to, unless you come from a family with bread, unless you got a lawsuit. I mean, you got to have some money coming from somewhere. And if you're starting a business, and you don't have a wealthy family, or you don't have like some type of lawsuit, or you don't got money coming in that can sustain your life, you're gonna need to get a job. Sorry, it was just being a honey with you, until you can get your first client. That's just being a honey. I was a little bit fortunate because I worked for this client as an employee. And then she was like, I guess for tax purposes, she wanted to drop me down to like independent contractor. I'm like, you know what? I could do that actually, but I don't want to do that under me. Can you do the independent contractor under my business? So basically now, I'll still work it, but it will be under my business name. You're like, I don't give a fuck. That's cool. I can do that. Yeah, let's do that. Cause like, as long as you're doing it, I'm cool with it. So that for me was a little different. So I started out with a client I started off as an employee that ended up turning into a client. And then that client is what I had for like a year and a half, because it took me a year and a half to get my first official client. A year and a half. Luckily, I had this one lady. And then when I look at all the stuff we've done for her, I'm like, damn, I'm surprised she kept us on for that long. I would have had to been working had I not, or having some other way to make money, Uber or something, whatever. That's an option. Shit. If you don't want to go work for somebody, to get your ass up in Uber or Uber Eats or something. Get some of that shit going, because that shit will be beneficial. But anyhow, if I didn't have her, it would have took me a year and a half to make bread, right? When I got my first client, I'll tell you how I got them, right? I just spent hours throughout the day making phone calls to businesses. Hey, my name is Jermaine Delmans. This is what we do, blase, blase. Got hung up on a lot. And then one lady, I called her up. I reached out to her because something happened at the hospital. I took my son to the hospital. He had to get an ultrasound. And so he got like an ultrasound, and she was like, yeah, no, I have a friend who does things like this. They do it remotely. So I'm like, all right, bet. I wasn't even thinking about using her service. I was just thinking, oh, this sounds like a small business owner. I looked her up. Like, all right, bet. So I called her up, say, yeah, let's see what you got. Boom. I'm like, oh, shit. My first client. Okay, my first official client that I actually went out and reached. That's a very good feeling. And then from there, things started trickling. She referred me to somebody, and then that somebody became my longest standing client. And I'm gonna be 100, man. Most businesses like to know that you have other clients, because what that does for them, it establishes, okay, he know what he doing, his shit legit or her shit legit, whatever the case is. If these guys are still with him for so long, they must do good work. So there's, as long as you have something that backs up like what you do, people gonna fuck with it. You know what I mean? Having that first client is so important, right? It gives you validation. Someone is willing to pay for your services. So if someone is willing to pay for your services, shit, I'll try it, because somebody else is doing it, right? Because people are oftentimes like, most people are like me. I don't want to take a risk on somebody like that. And I wouldn't take risks right now on somebody like that, because I'm still fairly a young business. Now, when I become older and my business is really established and, functioning to the fullest degree, then maybe we could take risks and see, what it looks like. But as of right now, as a small business, fuck no, I'm not doing that. The other thing, why it's so important, why your first client is so important, is because it brings like this level of self-confidence. You actually realize that this could actually work, especially if they're staying on. Like if they're coming back month to month, you're like, oh, okay, shit. Like you're going to go above and beyond for this client. You're going to do more for this client than you would anybody else, because your reputation is good. And that's why most people will try out a new client, because they know that you will give them way more. Or that's why clients will try out a new business, because they know that you'll give them way more than what they would have got if they would have hired somebody who was seasoned. You know what I'm saying? The other reason why it's good to have that client, because now you establish your testimony. You have them write a review. Now you got a portfolio. You can show all the work that you've done for this client. Now you got case studies. After that, the second client should be fairly easy, because oftentimes, I ain't gonna lie, some of my clients, when I get new clients, they want to know, like they kind of want to know if I have clients. They ask it without asking it. I slide in there, I got the client that's X, Y, and Z. So for me, even when I'm pitching, I show them our current clients' content, our current clients' website, their videos. Like I show them these things. So they already know that, we still have standing clients with us, because standing clients mean, it signifies we do good work. If it signifies you do good work, I mean, your shit is good enough that they ain't left. And that's how most business owners are going to think. And what's crazy is the mistake that many entrepreneurs make. They focus on branding. They focus on logos in the beginning. They focus on websites. They focus on perfecting everything. Instead, what they should be focusing on is getting clients. The truth, you don't have a business until someone actually pays you. You don't have a business until somebody does. So it's really important to get that client first, because as long as people are not paying you, you're not even going to stay in business. It's just not, people ain't with that shit. You know what I mean? Look at all the businesses that closed down. The only thing I could think of is Toys R Us, because there was a store, it was a Toys R Us in our neighborhood. And I just remember it closed down some years ago. Kids don't fucking play with toys no more. They play with the phone. Like, if you ain't making no money, you ain't making no money. If you ain't making no money, you ain't really in business. You're just not. The other thing I want to, discuss is like the power of over delivering. I talked a little bit about over delivering, right? Like, I think starting out with a client, you should over deliver, right? When you get that first client, treat them like they're the most important client ever. Over deliver to them, solve all of their motherfucking problems. Even if you got to go beyond your working hours. Why? Because the first client should lead to testimonials, referrals, and even more clients. So you have to do that. You have to do that with the first few clients, and then you can kind of lax up, because I'm really big on, under promising, over delivering, because at the end of the day, the methodology behind that, you give somebody more than what they expected to get, they're going to love you forever. I would say one good client could turn you into 5 good ones, if you could. Any clients are going to come and go. And I'm really big that God, I'm glad I didn't have bad clients starting out, because I feel sorry for people who start off with a client and it's a bad client. And guess what? Now you're a slave to that client, right? Even that person. I know it's tough. Deal with it until you can get your first few clients, and then fire that motherfucking client. Get their asses out of here. Get them out of here. Because at the end of the day, it's difficult to live in a world where you have a difficult client and they're your only client. God, I would hate that shit. I think God ain't never had that shit. But if I would have had it, I would have kept the client. I just would have been looking for more clients to fill that spot. Even if I could find one more client that's paying the same, I probably would have fired them first if she's difficult or he's difficult. My personal experience, right? When I got my first client, she only stayed on for 3 months. She did get me a referral, and that referral is my longest standing client right now, which is 3 years. Our business has been around for 4 years. Or is it 2 years? It's 3 years this year, in October, right? So, my personal experience, how that made me feel, was one, when I lost that first client, I ain't gonna lie, I was butthurt. I even was a little petty. I was like, fuck that, man. I ain't doing nothing else. Cause you did everything for this client. You over delivered. You did everything, and they still was like, we want to end the agreement. Not because the work was bad, and maybe because the work was bad, but oftentimes the other thing that I ran into is this business was still a small business too. It wasn't a mature business. It was still a fairly brand new business. So obviously, fairly brand new businesses, you can't expect to stay on with them long term, right? They use your services, but then we had a 3-month contract and they was out because they couldn't afford to keep up with the services. And that's another thing, pricing your shit, especially when you starting out with new clients, pricing that shit, what that shit gonna look like. And shit, man, look, that's why I told you earlier, your ass need to be studying your competitors, find out what they're charging, what they're pricing. My little homie right here. Number 3, number block. Sorry, got off track. But understanding what they pricing, so that you know how to price it. You don't want your shit too low, because then people gonna think your shit cheap. And then you don't want that shit too high, because why the hell would we buy from you when we got a more experienced somebody somewhere else? So somewhere in that middle. My first client left, dropped us in 3 months, and then I got my secondary client, and now I have clients who, hang it. The first couple years was really rough, going through clients left or right. We were still figuring out how to create shit, build shit out. People would stand for a few months and they'll dip. Some was only stand for 1 month and then they'll dip. But I also noticed that a lot of those guys had the same patterns. which is they were penny pinchers is what I call them. They were always watching their pockets. You could tell they were struggling. You knew they wasn't going to make it. So, but you're a business, so you're just trying to make money first. You're just trying to get some bread in so you can feed your family. Entrepreneurship is it's not just about ideas. It's about staying consistent when nobody is watching you, making those phone calls, sending those emails, because I'm telling you, that shit works. Let people know who you are. Like, that first client is so critical, because that first client can also make or break your business, because that's why I say you can be good at what you do, but if you ain't a good business person, man, imagine getting that first client and that first client wrote you a bad review. Ah, shit. Not only is it your first client, but you only got one review and it's a negative review. Ain't nobody about to book your ass. That's why I say it don't matter, like, your craft. Your craft is a bonus, but the real question is, are you a good business owner? Are you are you somebody I want to partner with? Are you somebody I'm like, okay, I can get down with this person, or this person got attitude, whatever the case is. I ain't with that shit. Understand that being a good business owner will take you a long way. And that's even when you get a team, start being a good business owner. Staying consistent when nobody's watching, believing before proof exists. Like, you got to believe in yourself first, right? Before anybody else. You obviously open the business because you believed in this shit. So you got to first believe it before you can get somebody else to believe it. And how the hell you going to sell them something you don't even believe? That don't even make sense. So for me, I got to believe in my shit. I got to know this shit is good. I know what I'm doing. And then more importantly, continue when results show. Like, when you win something or something happens, like, make that shit known for your small business, so that when you sitting down with these new clients or customers, you're like, hey, no, we do this. We win award winning X, Y, and Z, because your first client is your first sign you're on the right path. For real. I want to end with a few things, man. I want to say, like, my first client, I was fortunate. I was fortunate to have good clients. I'm fortunate to have good clients now. And that's the thing too, like, when you're getting your clients, right? It's like building a team. You don't just want to build a team of clients that are all bad and you just trying to get the money. It's so important to build good clients, because, like, I got to a point where I was like, I only want good clients. Like, I don't want bad clients. I don't want to deal with that shit. But when you struggling and you trying to make ends meet, you got to do what you got to do. But the objective is deal with your bad clients till you build the team that you want for your good clients. Because at the end of the day, your job becomes easier when you got easy people to work with. But in order to get easy people to work with, you got to be also an easy person too. Find people that you mesh well with. Like, some people work with me and call me an asshole. Some people are like, I cannot work with that dude. And to be fair, I say the same shit. I cannot work with some people, and I already know it. That's why I told you guys earlier in a previous episode, I don't even count certain people's income, because I already know they on some bullshit. I already know it. Like, this is bonus income. You know what I mean? This is not forever guaranteed. This is not sustainable income. They make every excuse to why they can't do something. They make every excuse. Don't nothing piss me off more when I see them doing their own work. Like, my problem is, we made the job too easy, which I'll talk about that on another show. But at the end of the day, like, your first client is important. If you can get a good one, even better. Because your first client will set the tone. My second client was the one who set the tone, right? She's been with us for the longest. And like, if you are not like that, I don't really want to work with you. We're in business. Why? Like, we're in business. You know what I mean? Like, you are your own, CEO. You decide who comes in, who doesn't come into the business. That's real. You know what I'm saying? That's real. So, find your path. You guys got this shit, man. Like, that first that first client will set the tone for you. Make sure you do right by them. Listen, if you are at the stage right now where you started the business, you're putting in the work, you're posting, you're reaching out to people, and it feels like nothing is happening yet, understand something. You are not alone. We all been through this. Every successful entrepreneur you see today had to go through some rough patch, especially in the beginning phases, even if they had bread. The stage where there were no clients yet, that's a very difficult stage to be at. The stage where belief had to exist in you first before you can prove it to anybody else. But once you get that first client, everything else from that moment changes, because now you have validation. Now you have proof. Now you have a story. And that story can lead to the next opportunity. So if you're building something right now, keep pushing, motherfucker, keep pushing. Your first client might be closer than you actually think. And once that door opens, it can change the entire trajectory of your business. If you enjoyed this episode of The Untraditional Entrepreneur, make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss future episodes where the talk is all about entrepreneur building businesses, struggling, like real life struggling, and not sending this fluff shit that they try to get you guys to join a network, join a class, join shit. Look, I ain't got shit I want you to join. I just want you to join the conversation because I ain't got shit to prove. Like, my thing is, we here to help you guys understand the real shit behind entrepreneurship. This shit is not easy. This shit is not fluffy. They gonna sell you a dream to get you a class to build their money up, not to necessarily help you. I don't give a fuck. I'm telling you, these motherfuckers don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. They try to sound like they give a fuck, but they don't give a fuck about y'all. This is where it's at right here. No classes, all conversation, giving you guys my journey as an entrepreneur. And remember, I'm 4 years in. My objective, make it to 5 years. We're going to make it there. You know what I'm saying? In the meantime, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm your host, Jermaine Delmas, and welcome to the other side of motivation. I'll talk to you guys.